Foxy, I'm going to have to close the window if you're going to keep barking. Okay.
Okay. Good talk. Good talk. So let's check in. How are you?
Doing really good this morning. Got a great ride in on the Peloton, did a little journaling.
Yes, you're on day 14.
Yeah, it'll be 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow that I have been
Ugh.
consistent with my 10 minutes or 1 page, whichever comes first, with journaling just to get everything off the heart and mind. And the highlight of the day is I just hopped off a reconnection call with my first boss all the way
Aw.
back at the Children's Defense Fund. Her name's Erin Davis. She is brilliant and lovely, going all the way back to when I lived in New York City in like 2005, 2006, 2007. We reminisced about our biggest like core memories about each other. And one was us seeing the movie Marie Antoinette together, starring Kirsten Dunst,
Oh my God.
and then
Yeah.
going out for a glass of wine afterwards. They always say your first boss, your first leader really imprints on you. And oh boy, did she imprint on me in the most positive ways. And we were just so excited.
How did the meeting initiate?
She wished me happy birthday on LinkedIn because LinkedIn will prompt birthdays and promotions. And I responded back, thank you so much. Would love to see you. Here's my Calendly if you want to catch up. And she booked it. That's how it happened.
Hmm.
But we've been following each other on the social medias. And she's like, I feel like we're BFFs. But like, obviously, the last time we really talked was 2007.
It's so wild. On my darkest days, and I'll just say it's not my darkest day today by any means. It's a slightly heavy day, with moments of lightness. And I remember it's so awesome to remember, like how many couple things, like how many chapters I've had in my life, and how many people I've met, and how many people I think still I was going to say still fancy me, but like leave that lasting impression even if it's been so long, which reminds me of course of the adage of, it's never too late. It's just never too late until it's too late, to say hello. I also love the check-in. I sent an email recently to someone, just was like, you crossed my mind because I met someone that you introduced me to and your name came up. And I just want you to know I spoke love on your name, and that was a text message that I sent yesterday. And like the response is like, this made my day. I know we both share connectedness as a strength.
Mm-hmm.
And ain't it true? It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who's missing? We're here. Ask us anything.
Happy to be back.
Depending on your proclivities, like there's an energy shift happening. It's harvest season, but there is like so much popping and locking in this season of our lives. We're coming into fall. Not the least of which is, right, that back to school energy, which I believe is in our DNA. And then, right, like the political energy, and everything that entails. And that's like a big, big, loud, fiery energy. We should have people like write in with questions and share when their birthday is, and then we can become what is it? Like
Astrologists?
yeah, but hacks, like not I mean, I don't know anything about it.
Speaking of hacks, have you watched that
Oh,
series?
have I? Yes.
I just finished the 3rd season and I
Hmm.
Jean Smart is
Is that the most
just
recent one?
it's the most recent one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jean Smart. I know. I know.
I know she never went away, but it feels like she is just having her Jennifer Coolidge moment,
Yes.
even bigger than
Yes.
that.
Yes.
We're never too old, it's never too late.
I know. So great. Okay. Well, it's good to see you. Here we go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Here's the question. I was thinking about this. today. I don't know that I have an answer yet. So let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Dear Emily and Katie, the past few years have completely changed me, and I sometimes don't recognize myself. I'm having a really hard time reconnecting to joy. Compassion toward myself is at an all time low. Do you have any suggestions for how to reinvigorate my sense of joy and help to increase my resilience and self love? I found myself smiling that with the second part of that. Um, well, I have some emotion coming up, so let me just start with that, which is compassion. Like I'm feeling a sort of a deep well of compassion for this questioner. I'm going to say something very simple, but not easy, and that is healing, which, sort of what we're talking about here, coming back to resilience and self love. Doesn't happen in isolation, and I wish it did. So my number one suggestion, absent all of the emotion that's not absent, alongside all the other emotion that's coming up for me, which is like, sisterhood, common humanity, brotherhood, like just care for another person, is you're going to need your people. You're going to need a person, maybe more than one person. And I think, if you want to double click on that after we go to you, Katie, I have some thoughts on who those people could be and how to identify them. But this is a time that you feel probably like you don't wanna interact with other people because you don't have a lot to offer. Oh, that's the part I feel so heavy. But you're gonna need other folks. So that's my first thought. What about you?
Yeah. Well, Emily, there's something you said there, the piece around feeling really heavy, reading that this listener feels like they don't have anything to offer. What's causing you to feel heavy about that?
Yeah, I think it's a shared experience of when I've felt like that. And by the way, it's when I was at the smallest body size I've ever been, right? So I looked and had success. It wasn't destitution. That's not what that not recognizing myself looked like. So want to be mindful of not recognizing yourself, speaking intrinsically. I relate, and it sucks. And, it's a change that for me was very disorienting and instructive and ultimately very healing and therapeutic. But I think that heaviness of I relate, joy, please. I could barely get to anything other than overwhelmed. So yeah, I think that for me, that's why it's so heavy and having that compassion toward myself. I just needed to take it in heaping spoonfuls from other people for a long time. And I'm not saying that's this person's journey, but for me, it was probably, 6 months or a year, and it got better very slowly, but it got better.
And isn't it amazing? Like you said, you were experiencing in a positive way overwhelming success, but then being overwhelmed by everything else in life that maybe people couldn't see
Mhm,
and very much couldn't feel because it was it was your set of feelings that were driving that.
mhm, mhm.
And likely folks not even knowing you needed help.
No. That's another skill I've built as a result is knowing how to help myself, more than I used to, but also knowing how to say I need help. It's platitudes in some way, but, I think it's an essential to have other people know what you're going through.
Mhm.
What would you offer, Katie?
Oh my gosh. I think on the, how do I reconnect with myself piece, I had a moment New Year's Day 2024. For those of you who have been listening, you know that I am going through a divorce, still in said process. And the man that I am divorcing, who will soon be my ex husband, on New Year's Day told me he didn't recognize me. I was not the person he married. in so many ways, and just kept hammering that. Now this is the first day of the year. It's supposed to be filled with hope and joy and excitement and exhilaration, and here I was being shamed for a good part of the day about not being the person that he met and him not recognizing who he married. And what was so empowering for me about that is I felt the most like myself I had ever felt on January 1st. um, I felt like one of the best versions of me that had existed in these first 41 and a half years of being on the planet. And what I came to realize was part of the reason I hadn't felt like myself for so long was because of who I chose to be in relationship with and what I was allowing to be reflected back to me. And so I know, Emily, you're talking about community and getting that squad of people around you to help you reconnect with yourself. But I would also suggest to the listener, who are the people, or who is the person that has contributed to you feeling this way? Because to your point, this didn't happen in isolation. And it's, for me, who is the person that makes your nervous system, person or people who makes your nervous system feel at ease and relaxed, which isn't
Mhm.
necessarily comfortable,
Yeah.
um, which is how we end up. It's like, oh, my nervous system is relaxed. Something must be wrong. Let's shake it up.
Shake it up.
And who are the people that reflect back to you the person that you aspire to be? Because they're already seeing that in you. And so I think the other thing I might say to this listener is, are you trying to get back to who you were? Or are
Mm.
you trying to get to the person that you aspire to be? And surrounding yourself with people, activities, alone time that allows you to every day just get one step closer, or 1% closer, in
Mhm.
the words of James Clear, to being who that person is. Because it might not be reconnecting with who you were. It might be going through a metamorphosis to become a version you didn't even know you could be,
Mhm.
which is where I'm at right now.
Mm. Let me ask you this, because one of my favorite slides that you ever pop up is the one of you as a kid. And the caption, for those of you who haven't seen Katie present live or virtually yet, because she's coming for you, in a good way, in a in a benevolent way. Um, you talk about, like, that's who you were. So the photo is Katie in colorful, expressive attire at a grade school age, a big bow in her hair. I'm sure there was glitter involved, sparkles, right? And you talk about, like, this is who I am when you're presenting now and in your early 40s. It shows up too. Your shoes have sparkles. You have usually a bright lip, right? Like, but more than the aesthetics, the energy behind it. So I also wonder, it's not about going back. It is about who you are. And I wonder if there's something, for me, when I was healing and coming through that space, I also had it reflected back to me, like, I recognize you from my mom. Like, as I was going through that, like, there
Mhm.
she is. She's back. And I think it was me at that age that was back. Does that resonate for you too? So, like,
Yeah.
might that be a place to start? Like,
Oh,
another suggestion? Yeah.
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 Who's the kid inside you? Maybe starting by reconnecting with that before the world got a hold of us and said, be this, don't be that, you're not enough, you're too much, you're too small, you're too big. Get a picture of yourself before any of those messages, whether they were overt or covert, started coming in. That, yes, Emily, 100%. That's the person to reconnect to.
Yeah.
There's so much wisdom in that 5, 6, 7-year-old version of us.
Yeah, I was thinking about like it might have been my 43rd birthday as I was sort of emerging. It might have been right before or right after the darkest time, but I was like, what would Emily at 8 or 9 do or be? And, horseback riding was a thing. I went to Six Flags, which, by the way, in your 40s, I mean, you're going to be recovering for a couple days, not from all the walking or the food and bev, but from the friggin' rides. Like I basically had a concussion, I feel like, after I went. But yeah, that there are those things that there's so many different ways to get to this, whether it's the artist's way or like methodologies that get you to that inner child stuff. But that is especially when you're like, I don't have time for this. This seems frivolous. And you're like, right. Yeah. But you don't recognize yourself. And we want to reconnect to joy. So you might as well try it.
Mhm.
And having a sense of lightness about it. Because I think that heaviness in the front end of this question, balanced with like sort of the lightness of reinvigorating joy and increasing self-love, like can be heavy, hard things. It can also be, I think, light and fun. So it probably feels like a stretch for this person, but I just want you to know that's out there for you to think about. Katie, I want to reflect back to you too. So far, right? You're going to heal not in isolation, but
Mhm.
you may do some solo thinking
Mhm.
of what works for you. But to reflect back to that first point, um, that nervous system being at ease, I wrote down like choose wisely. I don't mean like wisely, like don't make a mistake. I mean like, sit with it and really feel into who's someone I can trust with this. And I want to say to that too, like the first person you can trust is you.
Mhm.
But then who's a good person that when you backslide, there won't be judgment. When it looks different than you think Instagram wants it to look, they won't think anything of it. Sort of can witness being sort of lovingly detached from how you do it, but to be with you in that process. And I think if you're scratching your head thinking, listener, like, who the hell's that? That is a great question. And a really good one to go through with a professional if you decide you want to embark on that. But yeah, choosing wisely and only right? Like only you know the way forward. But I think having those friends, and Katie, you're this for me, that will help you excavate and stay curious and laugh and be like, oh, yeah, you just took 3 steps back. That's funny because I did too. So here I
Yeah.
am right alongside you on the lily pads. Like, how funny, right? Yeah, because it's just a process. So I like this for you because it's potentially building a new community for yourself or with a community with new additions, you know?
Mhm.
I think that's exciting. So, anything else that's burning desire?
Can we stick with the nervous system piece for a second?
Yeah, let
Um,
me check my heart rate. I think it's probably pretty low. I'm just kidding.
that
Well,
would make
I'm
me
not
feel
because
good
I'm talking to
because
you. I know. It's like
we're
a nice
together.
resting heart rate.
To take your phrasing, I wanna double click on it. A nervous system feeling at ease is different than you feeling comfortable. Um,
Ooh, good. Yeah.
I say that because what feels comfortable for me in terms of community often is about feeling a sense of chaos, feeling a sense of not being good enough, feeling a sense of striving, because that is the environment I grew up in. I was talking to my therapist that if I ever wrote a book, which is tagging that out for aspirational self, it would probably be called something along the lines of perform, because that is what has been comfortable for me. Perform in all of these different ways, get the gold star, get rewarded, and that feels comfortable. What doesn't feel comfortable, was actually when we first met.
Yeah.
Which meant my nervous system was at ease when I was with you. And I didn't understand why I felt so uncomfortable with a person that was making me feel so good. And so, in these moments, as you're identifying who these additions to your community are going to be, don't let the discomfort trick you into thinking this is the wrong person. That discomfort is probably telling you you are on the right path to being alongside people who are going to embrace the person who wants to re-experience that joy, reconnect with that child, that inner child.
Oh, I receive it. And I felt like all
Yeah,
gushy,
I don't know that I've ever said that
which
to
I
you
love. You
out
know, I
loud.
love that feeling. Yeah, God, that's wisdom. And it's making me tear up a little bit thinking about, well, first of all, receiving that makes me feel, I feel loved, and wanting that for everyone, like to have that person that they feel have that like secure attachment with, right? Like we can rumble
Mhm.
and then we'll come back.
That's what it is.
So there's that freedom of movement. And I agree, for this person, perform, Katie, such a, oh God, yeah, I think like really invoking and inviting this listener and both of us like not to perform, unless we're getting paid a lot of money. Uh I
Mhm.
know I'm such like a miniature capitalist. Yeah, and when it's uncomfortable, you know, your central, right, your nervous system knows. Like, is this a discomfort that is pushing me in the direction of, you know, getting closer to who I am? Or like it's a no.
Mhm.
Yeah, really smart. You're doing a lot of good work.
I've got Sarah Bueno to thank for that. Yeah,
I know you do.
shouting her out. Had Heart Business Therapy. Been working together
So good.
since established 2013.
I was going to say, I think I've been with my therapist, my current therapist, Jess. It's the longest stretch I've had. It's probably 6 years. Yeah. Yeah. So if you, listener, need a good therapist, let us know. We have a list. And if you have a question for us, we'd love to hear from you. Catch us at whosmissingpodcast.com/ask us anything. You can also drop us a DM on Instagram. And we have a phone number. We'd love to hear your voice. I got to be honest. You can call us.
We're about to give you the digits.
Here it is. Where are you? Are you safely parked? Open your Apple Notes app. We'll just give you a second. Okay, you've done it. 773-389-3638. You could call us every week if you want. I mean, I don't know. As a question comes up, or just a statement, right? If you can't get to a good question, we'll help you get there. We'd love to hear it from you. Again, 773-389-3638. Leave us a voicemail. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Emily. We'll talk to you next time.
Yeah.
Tell me